and a question mark at the end. That will help me see your questions. Okay, now, today, most of you who are not new know we've slightly changed the format. For the last several years, these monthly trainings have been done on Zoom. We decided not to use Zoom anymore for this particular format. And so how are we going to do the poll? Well, we're going to do that because we've actually put the poll in the Facebook group. Sarah is going to give you a link in the comments below. Look for the link that's going there about now. And if you click on that link now, it'll take you to my Facebook page where you will see a poll and you can get to vote. And you have about the next 20, 30 minutes to vote. You can vote for what you would like me to teach you next month. Okay, and I'll give you the date of next month soon. So the 5 options for you, and you vote in the Facebook group. I can see Sarah's put that in the link. The 5 options are, number 1, would you like me to teach you next month how to design a business for success, which is more of a strategic topic? Or perhaps you want to know which pricing model for use for different services, different types of pricing models. Or we can look at another pricing topic, how to add more value. 4th option, how to get clients buying more from you, so a marketing topic. And then finally, the 5th option is the 7 foundations of value pricing. So I know that the link to that poll is definitely in Facebook because I've seen Sarah post it. If you're on YouTube, I believe Sarah's going to put it there as well. I'm sure I'll see it soon. Okay, and the one announcement I've got for you is, if you've been to all my sessions this year, you'll know that one of the things that we do is we want to make the world a better place. So we're part of an organization called B1G1, which means that we contribute to various projects around the world to make things better. And one of the things we do for every one of these sessions, as a thank you for coming along, we make a contribution on your behalf to a project. And the project for this month is supporting entrepreneurs in countries where it's very poor countries like Malawi, Zambia and Zimbabwe, and it is for helping women get an education to become an entrepreneur. And we chose this one because it includes things like helping them learn how to do bookkeeping. So for every single person that's here today, we add up the numbers at the end. Sarah adds up the numbers, and for each one of you, we make a contribution on your behalf to, in this month, this particular project. And every month we choose a different project and somewhere around the world to help underprivileged people who are struggling. Okay, that I think is all of the announcements. I think it is. So I can see some questions coming in. Let me just answer a couple of questions while they are here, because 2 have come in. And then we'll get straight into the content. And I can see a lot of people have joined recently as well, like Janine from Canada. Let me see. So Harish says, is there a manual or video training program on how to get customers? Probably lots of training on how to get customers. From me, I teach marketing as part of the Value Pricing Academy. We do something once a month called Marketing Mondays. I teach how to win more customers. That's for members of the Value Pricing Academy. And if you don't know what that is, I will tell you about something later in half an hour where you can then find out more about the Academy, Harish. Okay, and I think I saw, and Harish says an action plan question mark. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but I guess that's in terms of training or whatever. I do a lot of that as part of the Value Pricing Academy. Okay, no more questions, so we're going to start. Today's session is all about how can we increase our profits, the value of our firms using recurring revenue. So think about this. This is a huge opportunity. And I know to some extent as a profession, we already have an element of recurring revenue. One of the great things about our business is that when you win a client for compliance services, whether that's bookkeeping, annual financial statements, management reporting, advisory work, whether it's tax returns, the great news is that when we win a client, then they usually come back next year and the year after and the year after, and they stay with us. So we have in our profession, we have an element of recurring business. And we even call it, certainly in the UK, gross recurring fees, shortened very often to GRF. And in fact, it's the heart of the valuation model of an accounting firm. So certainly in the UK, but I think it's the same around the world, is that if you want to sell your accounting business, then typically they sell for a multiple of GRF. Typically in the UK, I believe it's about between 1 and 1.2 times. In other words, gross recurring fees, if you have 100,000 of clients for whether it's bookkeeping, tax returns, etc., because that 100,000 repeats every single year, then typically somebody would pay a multiple of that to acquire that. So we call it in the UK certainly GRF. It stands for gross recurring fees. We have recurring income, which is hugely valuable because it means that once a client becomes a client, we don't have to keep selling to them every single year. They have to keep coming back and buying our tax return, buying our bookkeeping, buying our payroll, whatever it happens to be. So we are fortunate in some respects that we have that recurring revenue. But there's some other levels that we can go to. So let's think of this for a minute. Let's think of some numbers just to make this practical of the size of the opportunity. I have no idea how many clients you have in your firm right now, but you can do the math yourself. But let's imagine you have 100 clients. You have 100 clients that buy your compliance services. What if you could find a way for each and every one of those clients to pay you by recurring payment every month by a subscription, let's say just £27, £27 a month. If you had 100 clients and you could do something where they paid you an extra 27, so not a lot of money, just a small monthly amount of 27. When you do the math, that adds up to an extra, and I haven't got my calculator, but I think it's 32,400, whether it's dollars, pounds, whatever, per annum. And if we're creative about how we can add value to our clients so that they would willingly choose to pay us an extra 27 a month, then that 32,400 just goes straight to our bottom line. It's extra profit. So if you've just got 100 clients, you could add 32 grand to your bottom line profit if you start being creative about how we can tap into the idea of recurring revenues. So this is something that is a topic kind of close to my heart because my entire business has been built around this and has been for the last, 18 years. And one of the books that for me is I read a lot of business books, and there's one book, if I was to list my top 5 books, there was one book well in the top 5 that for me encapsulates really the benefit, the power of what I'm talking about. And it's by a good friend of mine over in Toronto in Canada. His name's John Warrillow. He's just brought out his 3rd book, I think, this year. This was his 2nd book. It's called The Automatic Customer. And he sent me a copy of this before it's published to read and give him some thoughts on. This book is extraordinary, I believe. It's one of the best books I've read because it really illustrates the power of what I'm going to talk about today. In fact, this is the only book where by the time I got to page 2, I had to put it down and actually a swear word came out of my mouth. It was wow. Because it really made me stop and think. In fact, let me read you just the first part of this book. Literally, only the first. It's a page that I will read you from the book, and it will give you an idea of the sense of the power of what I'm talking about. So it's actually probably a page in a little bit. So it starts off in the introduction. John says, "We'd been running together for 5 months when Sasha announced he was leaving on a business trip to China. The timing could not have been worse. The marathon was just 6 weeks away, and we had come to rely on each other to stay motivated through the hardest part of our training schedule. Now, at the height of our work, he was leaving for 2 weeks. Since Sasha and I wouldn't be able to run together, we decided to egg each other on digitally. We agreed to text each other the results from our training run each day as a way to stay motivated. Sasha asked if, instead of texting, we could use a messaging service called WhatsApp. I was used to texting using the standard service on my iPhone, so I wasn't in a hurry to learn a new platform. I asked him why we couldn't just text the normal way. Sasha replied that the phone company charged a relative fortune to text from China, and WhatsApp, instead of using the mobile networks, runs on the internet and therefore doesn't require expensive mobile carrier fees. In fact, the only fee to use WhatsApp is $1 per year subscription it charges after the first year. We used WhatsApp to communicate while Sasha was in China and eventually finished the marathon together thanks in part to our WhatsApp-supported training regime. It turns out that in using WhatsApp, we were not alone. By early 2014, WhatsApp had acquired 450 million users and was adding 1 million users per day when Facebook announced it had acquired the company for $19 billion, the largest acquisition of an internet startup in history. This was a small little company, WhatsApp, that had a subscription business, and they charged us $1 a year. And you might say, $1 a year? You can't make money out of a subscription that's $1 a year. Well, if you can get 450 million customers as a result of that, somebody's going to want to buy that business. And $19 billion is what Facebook paid for WhatsApp. That's the power of recurring subscriptions, recurring revenue. And so what I'm going to teach you in today's session is we're going to look at some ways that we're going to look at some of the benefits of recurring subscriptions, but we're also going to look at some ways that you in your accounting firm could tap into some of these ideas. But also one other thing that I want you to be thinking about at the back of your mind as you listen. You see, one of the great things about our profession is that, yes, we want to build a more successful accounting business, whether you're an accountant, a bookkeeper, or a consultant, but we also have clients, and our clients are business owners, and our clients want help growing a successful business. So the great thing is that whenever you learn something like today that can benefit your accounting firm, chances are it can also help your clients. So if you're into the idea of helping clients through business advisory, helping your clients build more successful businesses, then what I'm going to teach you today, you can apply to your accounting firm, but also there are ideas that you might want to share with your clients. So I'll leave you to think about that. And next week, by the way, I have some sessions that are going to really take that to another level. More on that later. So let's start with, and I do, by the way, I strongly recommend you get this book by John Warrillow. It's called The Automatic Customer. It's extraordinary. And particularly if you are into advisory work and helping your clients build more successful businesses. So what are the benefits of recurring revenue? What are the benefits? Well, the first one, of course, and as I said, to some extent in our profession, we have that with some of our work, with perhaps much of it through bookkeeping, tax returns, annual financial statements, payroll. They are recurring by nature. And what recurring work gives you is predictable revenue. It allows you to start to predict what your revenue is. Whereas there are other businesses where every month they have to go out and sell because they don't have anything lined up unless they go and sell. It gives you predictable revenue. Another thing, of course, it gives you is if you've got recurring revenue coming in, then it gives you a steady cash flow. It allows you to predict your revenue. And so if I think about, and many of you know, I used to have my own accounting firm. I started as a sole practitioner way back now in May 1996. I ran my own firm for just under a decade. And I did all sorts of mistakes in the first 2 or 3 years. And one of the things I found in the early days was that I was having to work really hard to win clients. And then because of mistakes I made, some left, some went out of business. And because I didn't know how to price and so on, I found there were peaks and troughs in the year because to some extent accountancy is seasonal. In the UK, for example, January is crazy busy because of tax season. It's April for the US and Canada. And then in February, March, it tends to go really quiet. And we're then waiting until May, June, July, when people with April and May year ends, or March and April year ends, so I'd start to bring in their books and records. So we tend to get really busy in the UK in the summer months. It quietens a bit, gets busy leading up to Christmas because we have September year ends is quite common. Crazy in January, quiet again February and March. So we have these peaks and troughs. And I found in my accounting firm back in the 1990s that there were, as I was growing my firm, I had this very unpredictable revenue, unpredictable cash flow, and I was constantly chasing clients for cash, chasing new clients to fill in those gaps where revenue was dropping, but I still had the salaries to pay. So I used to struggle. Compare that to where I am today. I would guess about 95% of my business, if not more, probably 99%, is recurring. So now I know with 95% certainty what my revenue will be next month, and what it will be the following month, and the following month. And I know with 95% level of certainty exactly how much money is coming into my bank account next month, and the month after, and the month after. It gives you steady cash flows as you start to move towards everything being recurring. It also is easier for me because almost all my outgoings are recurring as increasingly we're in this subscription economy. So a lot of my costs are software, for example, that I pay for my software on monthly subscription. So I know what's coming in next month and I know what's going out next month. And I can predict for much of the rest of this year to within a fairly high degree of accuracy. So having recurring revenue gives us predictable income, it gives us a steady cash flow. It also increases something called lifetime value, the lifetime value of a customer, and that's really important for a reason I will come on to. Another thing that we find as well is that when we have recurring revenue, we can also, and this is an important one, we can automate the collection of cash. In the UK, we can use things like direct debits. I think in the US, you have ACH, getting cash paid to you automatically. Again, if I think back to the 1990s when I ran my accounting firm, and I did some crazy things. I was so scared of the price conversation and so scared of losing clients that I would go and do the work. I'd then send them a bill afterwards, an itemized invoice, and then I'd keep my fingers crossed that they were happy with that invoice and they'd pay me promptly inside I had 14 days was my terms on the invoice. Payment is due within 14 days. And more often than not, the money did not come in on 14 days. And sometimes, for some clients, it never came in. And I spent a lot of my time chasing money, chasing clients, trying to bring money in, particularly at those times where I had this shortfall. August when they're on holiday, February and March after tax season. It was, I need some more money. I need to go and chase that money that's owed. So automatic cash collection makes life so much easier for you when you can do that. Another one, and a big one, and John's first book, by the way, was called Built to Sell. His expertise is teaching how to build a more sellable business. And one of the things John found from all of his research is one of the things that impacts on the value of a business more than anything else is the extent to which you have recurring revenue. When you have recurring revenue, people will pay a premium, a higher price. That's why Facebook paid $19 billion for WhatsApp, because of the recurring revenue streams, the predictable recurring revenue streams, as well as the customer base. When you create more recurring revenue, you increase the value of your firm. And here's another big advantage, which I think is really important. When you automate the cash coming into your business, when you know that you can predict into the future and you know that you have more cash coming in than cash going out, it means that you don't have to stress about chasing money, chasing brand new clients, chasing work. Once you have that certainty, you can spend more time, more focus on adding value to your clients. So in my case, I run the Value Pricing Academy, and because I don't have to chase money, I can spend my time thinking about ways I can create more value, create more training, create more resources, because I don't have the stress of worrying about where the next pound's coming from, the next euro, the next dollar. That's all sorted. So I can focus on doing the stuff I love to do. How do I add more value to my customers? So there's some big benefits. But we also need to think about the other side of the coin, because interestingly, customers, your clients, like to pay by subscription as well. People generally like subscriptions, and the reason for it is because when we pay things for subscription, it makes our life easier. We don't have to worry about it. We know that we pay a subscription, and then the thing that we're subscribing for is just available when we want it. We don't have to go back to the store, to the shops or whatever to buy something again. We just know it'll come as we want it. We pay a subscription to Netflix, knowing that if we want to watch some great TV, it's there available. We can watch whatever we want when we want. We're in control. It makes our lives easy rather than having to go out and buy things individually, separately. Because it makes things automatic, it makes life easier, it becomes more attractive to us. And also, and the other thing, it lessens the payment pain. In other words, one of the things we learned from psychology is that there is something called payment pain. People don't like to take money out of their pocket and hand it over. The act of handing cash over reminds us that we are giving away money, which is why we tend to prefer to buy things on credit card, because it doesn't feel like real money. It's just a piece of plastic. And in a similar way, setting up recurring payments means that we don't worry about them. We don't see the money coming out of our pocket. We don't feel the pain. And so we're just left to enjoy. We enjoy Netflix. We forget about the payment pain because it's all handled for us automatically. And you'll see that the world has been shifting. There are so many examples of companies that have now shifted to this subscription model. Take Microsoft. Office 365, they used to sell, you bought software as an individual product. Now Microsoft have realized, and they were slow to this, but very slow, as you perhaps know, because the software industry was one of the first to start to, the SaaS industry, software as a service, subscriptions. Apple, for example, they know that the future of Apple isn't about selling iPhones, because they're going to saturate the market. Once everyone's got an iPhone in the world, how many more iPhones can they sell? So you'll know Apple are moving much more. They're making a lot of money from things like Apple Music. It's the subscriptions. Amazon's a great example. The amount of money that Amazon make from Amazon Prime is extraordinary. Even things like the Dollar Shave Club. People pay a subscription to get shaving razor blades and things delivered, because it takes away all the stress and the hassle of having to remember to buy it. There are so many different companies now that are in this subscription space. So we're accounting firms. How can we do this? Bearing in mind, of course, that to some extent we are already doing this. Well, first idea for you is this. If you've got, think about any service that you currently offer to your clients, which is recurring, but which you do it once a year, let's say, and historically probably got paid once a year. So for an accounting firm, firm of accountants, that might be the end of year annual financial statements. The model was for me back in 96, 97, when I ran my accounting firm, was that once a year, I'd chase the client up, they'd bring the books and records in, I'd spend a week or so doing the annual financial statements, the corporation tax return and so on. I'd send them a bill for the work I'd done, keep my fingers crossed that hopefully they would pay it. And so, yes, we get, if they do pay, we get money coming in recurring once a year, and the same with tax returns. What if instead your clients, you agree the price up front for the following year's work and they pay you every single month? If you can get your clients to pay you every single month for those annual recurring things, annual financial statements, tax returns would be two great examples. You are turning annual recurring into monthly recurring. That really helps you to create those predictable cash flows. And the way that many people in the Value Pricing Academy do it, because I teach this, is many firms are now collecting the money in advance. So by the time they've done the annual financial statements, they've had all the money. So rather than sending out an invoice and adding to their balance sheet debtors or accounts receivable, we now have a negative number because we're getting the cash before we do the work. That's the way a lot of firms are now doing it. So that's the first thing that you can do. If you have annually recurring work where you get paid annually, figure out how you can change that model so that your clients pay you monthly. And remember, many clients will love to do that because it makes it easier. They can then set up the direct debit, the ACH, whatever it happens to be, and they can forget about it. Okay, let's go on to a second idea. Let's take this to another level. So another thing that you could perhaps do is think about a retainer arrangement. A retainer arrangement where they pay you a monthly subscription, a monthly fee, to have access to you, to have access to your firm. Because the reason why people want to work with great accounting firms, because they know that they can contact you if they have issues, if they want help with something, they have perhaps a big tax bill come in, they can contact you. There's real value in knowing that they can pick up the phone whenever they want. There's real value in knowing that they can come and see you. And so one of the things to do is think of your accounting firm as a club, a membership club, just like a golf club. With a golf club, people pay a membership to have access to the golf club. And then if they want to go and play golf, they then pay to go and play golf. But they pay a membership first to have access to the club. Why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we do the same thing? And so the thought process that you want to go through is think about, okay, what could I do to make my firm feel more exclusive? How could I add some more value? How could I make it so that people would want to pay a subscription? And let's go back to that original example from the start of just $27 a month or £27 a month. It doesn't have to be a big amount. Remember, WhatsApp, $1 a year, 450,000 members, and they sold for $19 billion. It doesn't have to be a big subscription, but when you multiply it across your client base, this can make a big difference to your bottom line profits. So what could you build in? What extra benefits could you offer for people to become part of your firm, to have the benefit of accessing you, your team, accessing to things like perhaps a monthly newsletter, a tax planning update every year, whatever it might well be, things you do anyway. In the UK, for example, a lot of accounting firms, there's a budget every year where the government announces the new rates, and accounting firms go out and go on these budget update courses, create these nice little tax cards and things to send to their clients so they know what the latest tax rates are and so on. And we give all that stuff away for free. Well, there's value to all that. So we could package it up in some way and make it like a membership club, make it exclusive. And if you made that compulsory, then I don't know how many firms you have in your client base right now, but imagine if every single firm paid you an extra £27 or $27 a month. That could be a big amount of additional bottom line profit and creates a recurring revenue stream and all the benefits that come with that. Let's go to a third idea. Next thing that you could do is, how about running a business club? So if you like the idea of doing business advice, of a business advisory, of advising your clients to build more successful businesses, then you could, of course, run a one-to-one business advisory service where they pay you a fee and you work with them every month to give them business advice. But what about if you scale that? What about if once a month you got 10 clients came into you, perhaps it was a physical room, or perhaps it could be done using something like Zoom. And if 10 clients came every month to hear you give advice, to give some thoughts on how they could build a more profitable business. And imagine that those 10 clients paid you, let's say, they got so much value from listening to you every month, as well, of course, as the value of you putting 10 people in a space where they can network with each other. And don't forget that. Back in the year 2000, in my accounting firm, I launched a business club. The internet hadn't really taken off. It was a physical business club rather than virtual. And I launched it in February 2000. My first event, 17 people showed up. And I ran that for, I think it was 3 to 4 years. Every month, typically between 15 and 20 people came along to my business club. And I spent typically 45 minutes just teaching a business building topic. Today's topic would have been a great topic. I don't think I taught this, but it's something you could teach. What I'm teaching you, you could teach to your clients. And you could give lots of examples, Office 365, Apple Music, Amazon Prime, the Dollar Shave Club, and many, many more examples that your clients could then start to think about in their own business. So I did a business club, and I had between 15 and 20 people show up every single month for 3.5, 4 years. And what I found was that I asked them what was the most valuable part. And the way I structured it was 45 minutes where I would teach them something. We'd then all go and have a cup of coffee and have a chat for 10, 15 minutes. Then we'd all come back together. And we had, in those days, I had a U-shaped table, or a range of tables. They sat in a U, and I was in the middle of the U, if that makes sense. And for the second 45 minutes, I didn't teach anything. I just got them to ask questions. And I'd say, who has a question about the topic? Someone would ask a question. And I'd say, does anybody else in the room here, have anybody else had that situation and been able to solve it? And 2 or 3 people would say, yeah, actually I had that situation, this is what we did. And what I found is that just by facilitating, my clients and prospects in this room got more, they told me they got more value out of that part of the club than the bit when I was doing the teaching. They got the value out of me pulling these people together so they could network. Huge value. So imagine if you got 10 clients together and they enjoyed it so much they came to hear you every single month. And imagine they got so much value they were willing to pay $270 or £270 a month. 10 clients paying you $270 a month is $32,000 again. And the only cost to you is the half day of you, or the few hours where you just share your content every month. And your time hasn't got an actual cost. That's all extra profit to your business. So that's another way that you could structure recurring revenue. You could run a business club. And in this day and age, I used to do it as a physical event, so I had to hire a venue, I had to pay for teas and coffees. In this day and age, it's even easier because this can be done online. You could just jump online on a Zoom meeting, invite 10 of your clients and prospects, deliver value, and they pay you a recurring subscription, and it only takes up a couple of hours every single month. And what you've got is scalable, because think of this. What if 10 people came and paid you because they saw value? But over the course of the next year, what if that grew to 20 people, or 30 people, or 40 people? Here's the interesting thing about the model. Your costs don't change. Unlike when you're working one-to-one, if you want to double the number of clients, you have to double the amount of time that you spend, or you have to hire people. But when you build a scalable model like a business club, then it's the same effort whether you're teaching 10 people or 100 people. And that's my business model. As you know, if you're part of the Value Pricing Academy, that's my business model. It's a 7-figure business because it's scalable. And you can do the same thing. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I have a training academy where I teach my exact business model and how you can replicate it. Before that, let me just wrap up with a few more thoughts. The opportunity is huge. Of course, there are a few challenges to be aware of. As you move down the route of a subscription-based business, like a SaaS company, for example, then there's a new bunch of metrics that we need to be aware of and learning. So when you build a subscription-based business, whether you decide to have a retainer or build a business club, you need to be starting to measure things like MRR. That's called monthly recurring revenue. MRR is a metric that any subscription-based business needs to be measuring. Sometimes it's ARR, annual recurring revenue. LTV, lifetime value of a customer, is a really important measure. You should be measuring that in your firm. And CAC is customer acquisition cost. And then one more really important measure to be aware of. If you build a subscription-based recurring revenue business, the most important measure is churn. What's the percentage of people that leave the subscription? Because that is a big issue that you need to be aware of, and how to then deal with that and minimize churn. So you need to learn the language of the new measures that you need. And if you're helping and advising your clients, of course, who might be wanting to move to a recurring revenue subscription-based model, they'll be looking to you to help them with those measures which are so important. Okay, that's my thoughts for today on how we can start to think about building more recurring revenue into our business. But we're going to do Q&A soon. I just have a couple of announcements. So I think if I just move this out of the way, yeah, here we go. Let me tell you about some of the upcoming events, just so you're aware. Tomorrow at same time, all my events are 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, same time as this one started. So tomorrow, if you want to learn more about the effective pricing software, I have a 60-minute Q&A session on Friday. So 60 minutes. And the way that works is similar to this. I will show you something. Tomorrow's theme is I'm going to share with you 3 tips to create really beautiful proposals using the effective pricing software. We'll do about 20-30 minutes of training, and then I'll answer your questions. That's tomorrow. Next week is a really important week because I'm running the Business Advisory Masterclass. I run it twice a year. If you've never been before, then we'll put a link. Sarah will put a link for you to book your place next week. It takes place over 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11th, 12th, 13th. Over those 3 days, we go live for a couple of hours where I teach you how to profit from business advisory. How would you package advisory? How would you price it, market it, sell it, deliver it? So next week is all about business advisory. And of course, if you are into business advisory, then that gives you some great content for building a business club. More on that in a second. So Sarah will put the link to the Business Advisory Masterclass next week. I hope you can make those sessions. We will record them and make them available for a few days if you can't make all 3. Best to come live because I can ask your questions. If you can't make them all, register anyway because we'll then make sure we send you the link to any recordings if you miss 1 or 2 of them. Then on Friday of next week, we have a special session for the Value Pricing Academy where I'm going to be teaching a brand new process, a brand new resource on a complete 12-step process for pricing a brand new client. That's brand new training for Value Pricing Academy members next Friday. And then this topic, this session, this monthly training, our next one is Wednesday, June the 9th. Now, I don't know what the topic's going to be because it was based on the vote. I'm going to have a look, see if I can find it myself. But Sarah might need to post that at some point. Yeah, I can't get access to it straight away. So Sarah, can you record and just tell people what is the topic for next month, for June the 9th? Which of those 5 things got the most votes? And if I see it come through, I'll shout out. Last announcement is last month we launched something called the Online Live Academy. It's a brand new training academy where I teach accounting professionals how to be more confident online in front of a webcam and how to stand out and be different. We have 4 levels of training, and we're starting off with how to be more confident just in a one-to-one conversation, how to come across as more professional. And then we also look at things like how to be confident and build great videos. How can we go live and do webinars? And I also teach how can you build a business club? So everything that this recurring revenue idea, I will be teaching in the Online Live Academy, everything you need to do to build as part of your firm a recurring revenue through an online business club. Basically, I'll teach my model, which is a 7-figure model. Not say you'll get there, but I can teach you how you can build a significant revenue stream and get 10, 15, 20 clients together that are willing to pay you every single month to listen to your knowledge and ideas. Okay, I think that's all my announcements. I'm going to go into questions now. So if you had a question, hopefully you put QQ in front of it. So just bear with me a second, please, because there are so many comments in the chat box. I haven't been paying attention whilst I've been delivering today's content. So I'm just going through quickly to see if I can see some QQs. Where were we? So I think it was Wickersham from North Carolina was where I got to. We have who's got questions? Let me just go. So Lorraine's here, Felicia's here, Ola Lekan is here, Janina mentioned. I answered your questions, Harish. I think we've done that. Okay. So Tina says, hi Mark, when will you have the next master group training? I'm not quite sure what you mean by master group, but that might be what I've just announced. That's the masterclass next week is the business advisory masterclass. If that's what you're after, Tina, that's next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We do run one other masterclass a couple of times a year called the Pricing Bookkeeping Masterclass, where for 3 days I teach how to price bookkeeping, and that is going to be next run at the start of September, I think, Tina. But next week is the Business Advisory Masterclass. Okay, Chantal is here. Any more questions I can see? And if you just put a question in there, I will get to your question in a short while. Harish, I don't understand your questions, unfortunately, but we need to contact them. I'm not sure what that means. So if you want to just explain that a bit different, hopefully I'll get it next time. Tina says, okay, so Tina says, I've registered, so she's taken action now. She has registered for masterclass next week. How long is the class each day? It's a question I get very often. So I don't know. I have no idea. And this is the reason why is today's session is 60 minutes. So I stop the questions in 15 minutes and we keep that very strict. Next week, though, my goal is to answer every single question. And so typically, Tina, in the Business Advisory Masterclass, I teach for about 90 minutes. And then we go into Q&A, and sometimes the questions go on for between half an hour. Sometimes it ends up being 3 hours by the time we're done. An hour and a half of content, and then I answer questions. And what I find interestingly is most people stay for the questions, because even if they don't have a question themselves, chances are somebody else is going to ask a question that they thought, oh, that's an interesting question. I never thought of that one. I'd love to know the answer. So I don't know, Tina. I don't know how long the sessions will last, but allow for at least 90 minutes for the content. But we'll also answer questions. And actually, I've just noticed Sarah's just said exactly that. Thank you. Robin Joyce from Moscow says, please may we have the details of the bookmark just quoted. So I don't know if you're able to type that into the chat box, Sarah, but it's John Warrillow, Warrillow is his name. It's called The Automatic Customer. Okay, but yes, we'll put it in the chat box for you, Robin. And actually, Jessica, I just seen now, has done exactly that. So thank you for doing that. Okay, what else have we got? And Harish kindly mentioned as well John's first book, which is Built to Sell, which is also extraordinary. And if you do advisory work and help your clients, his books are worth reading because they give you some skills and things that you can then pass on to your clients. Okay, Laurent is from Nottingham. Hi there, Laurent, in Nottingham. That's not far from where I used to be in the UK. Any more questions for me? Mindy said, I don't know, Mindy. What was the first one? I got 2, monthly newsletter, running a business club. I was throwing out some ideas of how you could add value whereby somebody would be willing to pay a retainer. What could you do for them? I forget what I might have said for number 1. I think I mentioned things like if you have, you've got the newsletter. What was it? I think I probably said just have access to you, the ability to call you whenever they wanted, to pop in for a meeting whenever they wanted, without worrying about a ticking clock. They get access. In other words, they get access to you, and that's something that's valuable. To have access to you which they've probably got already right now, but we never position it as valuable, and therefore don't put a price tag on that. Mark Rayner says, this is a brilliant idea that I've begun to try with my business clients. Oh, thank you. However, for the individual tax clients, the newest challenge is that people have subscription fatigue. There is an element of that, yes, but you will still find that many people, most people are just happy to pay subscriptions because it does make their life easier. And the subscription fatigue is just the fact they've got so many of them and they lose track of them. But that doesn't mean they'll stop buying from you, because it's still easier than having to make sure they've got all the money to pay you your one big annual fee every year. So Aldora says, so how would you pivot that format to a virtual situation? I'm not sure what you mean. Pivot from where? I'm not sure what you mean. If, for example, what you mean is you currently run a physical business club where people meet and you now want to take it online because it's easier, well, I would guess that the last 12 months has changed many businesses, changed our business, that it's now the norm that we tend to meet people online. And so that would be a reason I would say to pivot, because of the changes in the world. We're finding it's easier to work with people online. It means you don't have to, and then you just explain the benefits. What are the benefits? You don't have to travel anywhere. You can work with us. You can join our business club from the safety of your office, your home, without having to travel anywhere. I'm not sure if that's the question you ask, Aldora, so I'll apologize if I've got that slightly wrong. You can always ask it again if I get a chance to answer it. Valentina did put QQ in front, so thank you. That's one's jumped out. How many times a month should run the business club? Can you tell again the fees, please? Is the fees per month or per meeting? So Valentina, I know you're in the Online Live Academy, and our next session is level 4 training. So I will be answering this in a few weeks' time, Valentina. But how many times should you run the club? It's entirely up to you, to be honest. I would say that if you're starting out, if this is a new concept, once a month is sufficient. You get your group of clients together once a month and you teach something. That means that you have plenty of time to plan, to prepare for the next session, because you've still got a busy accounting firm to run. So I would suggest once a month is sufficient. You might find over time that you enjoy it so much, and people get value, and therefore you've got more and more customers. You might decide to run it multiple times. And you'll know, Valentina, that I run in the Value Pricing Academy. I actually do multiple sessions now. I teach, for people in my club, in the Value Pricing Academy, I teach Marketing Mondays. So once a month, we teach marketing. We have Advanced Tuesday, where for people who have been with me a little while, we go advanced on topics. We have Foundation Wednesday, where I teach the foundations of value pricing. Thursday is How To Thursday, where I teach how to create specific resources and systems for specific services like bookkeeping, tax returns, annual financial statements. Then we have a couple of times a month the Online Live Academy training sessions. So I run monthly sessions, much more than one a month. I run lots of sessions because I've been doing this for 7 years now. But I started off the Value Pricing Academy with one a month. So start with one a month. And then you can build as it becomes more successful. As for what you would charge, if you were running a business club, what you would charge, it's something I can't say what it should be, because it really depends upon a whole bunch of things, like the value of the content that you're going to be teaching, and what other things that you might build in. So if what you're giving is, let's say, 45 minutes of training, and then also some answering Q&As once a month, and also helping the group to network with each other, then I would suggest there's enough value in there to have a fee of anywhere between 97 and 197 pounds US dollars, Canadian dollars, perhaps a little bit more than that. That's the kind of price range that you could think of. But you might go higher than that if you bundle in other benefits of the business club, and you could be creative there. So that's one thing that you could do. And what I'll be teaching, Valentina, in the Online Live Academy, when we get to that, I'll be teaching as well about how you can, one of the things that I recommend, which I do, as you know, is that when you join one of my pricing academies, the price that you join at never changes. It gets locked in for life, because it rewards loyalty. And there's a reason that I do that. And if you build a business club, there's a reason that you'll want to do that. And Valentina, I'll teach you that in the near future. Okay, let me move on. We've got 7 more minutes, and I may miss a few because I'm looking for the QQs in the QQs and the question marks, because there are a lot of. Okay, what's Nancy just said? So that's just popped up. It's not a question. I just started a trial business club. It's free, and I was shocked when it became more than 100 people in just a few days. Going to see how it goes and then set one up as a revenue stream. Well, wow, that's pretty impressive. I'd love to know, Nancy, how you got from 0 to 100 people in a few days as part of a trial business club. I would suggest that if you then put a price tag on that, many of those will continue to happily pay you, because and starting as a trial is great, because you can with those 100 people, you can deliver some huge value. They get to see the benefit of it and then think, you know what, I want to carry on with this, and they start subscribing. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. Valentina is a question for Sarah, but others might have the same question. Sarah, I've already booked my place. I will receive a link close to the time. Yes, with all our events, once you've registered or if you're on the list, we always send an email 15 minutes before the start of every event to remind you. Okay. Did I say? I can't remember now. I might not have said. No. The number one vote, by the way, June the 9th, next of these sessions, you voted for designing a business for success. So next month's training is not pricing, it's more big picture strategic thinking. So make sure you've blocked out June the 9th in your calendar. That's what we're doing then. Thanks, Sarah. Okay. Marina says, so ready for a business club. I'm going to offer a beta. Okay, awesome, Marina. Lisa says, is this webinar being recorded to rewatch? We didn't used to do that. We've changed as of this month, because as you know, this is now being streamed on my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. So they will both stay there. We'll leave them there so you can revisit if you want. The problem with the Facebook page is it will disappear down the stream over time. But my YouTube channel, go and visit my YouTube channel, and you will find that if you want to come back in 3 months' time, you will see that recording of today's session is there. We might chop out the start and the end, but the core content will be there, Lisa, if you want to revisit it. Dan says, masterclass starts at 11 and ends when? When? I think we answered that, Dan. I don't know. It depends how many questions they are. So I get lots of questions, as you can see. Today we finish in 4 minutes. Next week, I'll just keep going to add as much value as I can. I want to answer everyone's question next week. So stay for as long as you're getting value from the questions. Mindy says, what's the term for percentage of people leaving the subscription? What's the term? Oh, that's churn. Churn, C-H-U-R-N. That's what's used in the subscription industry. Churn is what's used as the percentage of people that leave. And so for a SaaS business, for example, software, it's one of the most important metrics that they will measure or should measure. At some point, perhaps I'll teach you why that's the case, but that's what it is. That's churn is the percentage of people that leave. Tina says, which day is Online Live Academy? So we only launched the Online Live Academy last month. Last month, we run 2 live training sessions every single month, roughly every 2 weeks, but it won't always be every 2 weeks, because sometimes I have a vacation, sometimes I'm doing the Business Advisory Masterclass. So the next one's in 3 weeks' time. We will, Tina, try to give you the dates at least a month in advance so you can get them into your calendar. And later on this year, we'll probably start to plan out even more ahead. Okay, I know Sarah you answered that, but it was just for other people who didn't see your answer. Okay, I'm just going through fast to see. I've got a feeling, and we've got 3 minutes left, I have a sneaky feeling that I may have answered all the questions, which is unusual. There's usually some left. And I usually end up having to say, if I missed your question, I apologize. You can ask it in my Facebook group or come next month on June the 9th. But I think I may well have answered everything, Sarah. And if that's the case, I'll keep hanging on for another 60 seconds in case a question comes in. But if not, we'll kind of wrap up. Remember, this time tomorrow is the effective pricing Q&A, where I'll show you how to create beautiful proposals with the effective pricing software and then answer all of your questions. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, if you've never used the effective pricing software, tomorrow, same time, come along and find out. And of course, hopefully I will see everybody who's never been before at the Business Advisory Masterclass next week, because advisory is really where we should be thinking about going with our firms. Right, I can't see any more questions right now, so I always play out with some music. Leave the feed going just a little bit longer so you can put some questions. If you've had value from this, if you've had value from it, could you just let me know by clicking the thumbs up button, whether you're on the Facebook page or the YouTube? I'd appreciate that. And I'll leave it going. Robin says, how would you promote the club? Okay, I have 30 seconds to answer that. How do you promote your business club? Actually, that's a long topic, Robin, which I will be answering in the online live academy when I do level 4 training. But essentially, you could invite your existing clients, your prospects in one-to-one conversations. Another great way is to run a webinar where you invite your clients and prospects to a webinar. It's free. And then at the end of the webinar, you say, this is what we're doing. We're starting a club. Would you like to be part of it? Robin, I don't know if you came to my session about 3-4 weeks ago when I launched the online live academy. That's essentially what I did. And I got a whole bunch of people who joined the academy. Mindy says, isn't this a Thursday meeting? I'm not sure what you mean. I might have confused you. These monthly trades aren't always Thursday, by the way. So next is June 9th. It's not necessarily always going to be a Thursday. Okay, I think that's all the questions done. Enjoy the rest of the day. And if you've got any more questions, stick them I will be monitoring the comments afterwards, or you can put them in my Facebook group. Goodbye for now.
I wasted all my time, I wasted all my nights, I wasted it on someone who's indifferent. He didn't love me right, he told me I was blind, but I never really wanted to listen.